Hi, I'm Charles Linden from Linden Tree Education. I was you once. I once suffered from anxiety, panic attacks, agoraphobia, OCD, health anxiety, derealisation, depersonalisation, emetophobia, which is a fear of vomiting, and all sorts of eating disorder type symptoms and sensations and thoughts that just overwhelmed me and consumed every single second of every single minute of every single day of my life. The entire time I was awake, I was anxious. And then I would fear going to sleep because I'd be frightened of waking up in the night having a panic attack or a night fright. So I wouldn't sleep. I'd stay up all night because I was frightened of sleeping. And then, of course, the next morning I was so tired that I couldn't go into the day and address the day with the energy and vitality that I should have had. Every waking moment was a nightmare. I don't know when during that first 27 years of my life my anxiety disorder developed, but I now know that scientifically I was born with the predisposition to suffering. Just like you were. Every person with anxiety was born with this predisposition. A genetic marker, if you like, something in their genetics that made them predisposed to, at some point in their life, developing an anxiety disorder. And we now know what that marker is, and we know how to get rid of that, to reverse the formation of that in your subconscious. That is the true solution to anxiety disorders, to get rid of your ability to suffer. Not to get rid of the symptoms, not to get rid of the phobias or the obsessions or the panic attacks, not to address it with medication or talking therapy or hypnotherapy or NLP. You can't do that. These things don't get rid of systemic fear responses. And that's what's wrong with you. Your systemic fear response, in other words, your deeply ingrained blueprint for emotional response has been adjusted so that you don't respond in the same way to other people that don't have anxiety disorders to things that would cause you fear. And at some point it's activated the disorder. And the disorder comes when it's repetitive, when you wake every day with the same level of fear. And when you wake every day with that same level of fear, and it's indiscriminate, it isn't addressing a particular catalyst, that's when it becomes an anxiety disorder. Now, fear disorders, which are anxiety, can cause a huge range of physical and mental manifestations, from obsessions and phobias right the way through to cardiac issues, racing heart, tachycardia, the palpitations, respiratory issues like shortness of breath or smothering sensations, digestive tract issues such as indigestion or gas or bloating or diarrhea or vomiting, and all those things that I'm sure that you at some point in the past have experienced. Most sufferers are sort of built to the blueprint of anxiety suffering. In other words, that there are certain things that most sufferers experience, like the shortness of breath, like the shakiness, like the insomnia, like the sort of palpitations and all those symptoms. They're very, very common. Of course, then you've got panic attacks. Then you've got phobias like emetophobia, fear of vomiting, or obsessive focuses like eating disorders or self-harming, for example. And then you've got the low mood on top of that just makes you feel constantly low and depressed. But it isn't true clinical depression, it's anxiety-related low mood. No matter how it manifests in you, and no matter how it manifests in me, and it was extreme in me, and I'm sure it's horrendous for you too, no matter how it manifests, the solution is the same in every single case. Because at the end of the day, what we're talking about here is a disorder of the emotion of fear, okay? So when you fix that disorder, you go back to order, and order means normal emotional responses. Now, I don't suffer from an anxiety disorder anymore, but if something runs out in front of my car, a dog, or if something happens, a car pulls out in front of me, I go into flight or fight. My heart rate goes up. I have all that sort of adrenal response stuff that I'm sure is all too familiar to you. But fear is gone, when that threat has subsided, my fear responses go back to normal, back to my normal benchmark, which is calm, equilibrium, systemic bodily equilibrium. Now then, the message I want to give to you is this. I was born with that predisposition. I was also born with some other issues around attention deficit disorder, which I didn't know about as a child, and nobody knew about as a child, but I've since found out as an adult that I suffer from. And those are dealt with. They've been put away. And in fact, when I recovered from my anxiety, pretty much that faded away. You know, it was no longer an issue. My memory didn't become an issue anymore, and how I went about my daily tasks, I was much more structured in what I do. So those things aren't an issue anymore. But the point is this: when you are back in emotional equilibrium, and by emotional I mean, obviously, you know, involved in the emotions, you've got all of your neurology, and your neurology is electrical, it's physical, it's also based on the science of neuroplasticity, and that is that, you know, you're constantly gathering data through your senses and modifying the way your brain responds to the world, and you're doing this constantly. But at the moment, what you're doing is you're modifying the way that your brain interacts with the world through your senses, so that you perpetuate your fear, perpetuate your anxiety. So what we're going to teach you, and what we can teach you, and without exception we've taught every single person to do, is to fire in the correct data in through your senses to your subconscious that tells your fear to switch off, that tells your anxiety disorder to deactivate. It's the only way to recover from an anxiety condition, no matter how it manifests. The only thing that you're doing wrong at the moment is that you're sending data into your brain that confirms that your anxiety is appropriate and that your body should continue to manifest that anxiety at that level. What we'll do is show you how to take it from disorder back to order and become completely anxiety free, and to get rid of your emetophobia, health anxiety, OCD, panic attacks, agoraphobia, and all of those thoughts and sensations that you're dealing with every day, but you shouldn't have to deal with. This is why we say on our websites that the solution to your anxiety is 100%, that this can't fail, because it is exactly the same as eating to cure hunger. This can't fail. If you are hungry and you get brain signals going into your digestive tract that give rise to the gurgling and the sensations we associate with hunger, those are messages to tell you to find food, to take on fuel, and then that fuel is used to transit around your body to fuel your muscles and your brain and to keep your body alive. So a simple message that says, I'm hungry, makes you gather the food that you need to keep your body alive. And it's the same with anxiety. Fear responses, whether you're happy, sad, jealous, however those emotional responses happen inside of you, and we all experience them every day, they are all, without exception, fired by what your senses gather. So you see something funny, you laugh. You know you're happy because you're laughing, other people know you're happy because you're laughing. If something gives rise to jealousy, you respond with those with anger, or with however jealousy manifests in you. If it's sadness, you cry. You know that you're sad because you're crying. So the physical manifestations of all emotions give us the experience of that emotion, and also give us the experience of the world around us. And the point is this: very quickly, your fear, your inappropriate fear, so your anxiety that causes all the things you suffer from, can be switched off, can be taken from disorder back to order. Okay? I want you to fully understand this concept because it's scientific. If you asked any psychophysiologist or any neurologist this very same question, they would give you this very same science. It's how the brain and body work. Anybody that tells you they can hypnotize the anxiety out of you, it's not possible. Anybody that tells you that you can use drugs to get rid of anxiety, it's not possible. It's like getting rid of your hunger with drugs. It's a nonsense. You can subdue the signals, but you don't subdue the hunger. Your body still needs the fuel. If you cut your finger, you go to a pharmacist and you see the range of products available there for a cut finger, dressings and antibiotics potentially, but salves and medication, things to sterilize it, stitches. There's a £1 billion industry out there in the world for things for cut skin. But the solution is one thing. It's your body's ability to send new skin cells to that cut and fill the gap. That is the only way you will recover from cut skin. Your body will find the solution. Yes, you can keep it from getting infected, you can dress it and you can sterilize it, and that will help, but the solution is your body's ability to send skin cells to it. And it's exactly the same with recovery from anxiety. Your body knows how to reduce your fear levels back down to normal. You've just got to tell it to do so. And you cannot do that through medicine, through hypnosis, through talking therapies. In fact, talking therapies and things like meditation will focus you on those things that cause you and cause you to be anxious and perpetuate your anxiety. There's nothing you need to talk about. It's not about talking about trauma. You have an anxiety disorder. So you have too much of the emotion of fear. That isn't something that has happened to you because you're ill in any way. It's something that has happened to you because your brain is primed to be anxious. We're going to get rid of that priming. We're going to get rid of that predisposition. We're going to make you anxiety free. And that's why this works. So please, please, please take great comfort in the fact that we're going to provide you with something that is... When I recovered from anxiety, my dream was to help every sufferer. My dream was to show everybody what I did to recover. And that's what I do. And we provide it in a way that isn't going to charge you for repeat sessions, isn't going to charge, you're not going to have to take medication, you're not going to have to sit and concentrate on something or write anything down. We're going to show you the exact science of anxiety disorder recovery, and we're going to give you the support and guidance you need to make it happen fast and permanently. Okay? And that's what we're all about at Linden Tree Education. Pick up the phone, write us an email, speak to one of our therapists. They're all MBACP and BPS psychologists and psychotherapists, waiting to take your call to give you some guidance that will help you to do today what will make you feel different tomorrow, because that's just the way the brain and body works. I hope you've enjoyed what I've said. I hope you found some inspiration in what I've said, and that you feel inspired now. Instead of going forward in your day feeling anxious and not knowing what to do about it, at least now you know that there's a solution, and you know where the people are that can give you that solution. Okay? And I hope you don't mind the fact that this was very off the cuff, but this is how I do my videos. And sometimes I do make mistakes, but I prefer to leave them in because it shows you how real I am. I am incredibly passionate. Myself, Beth, and the whole team are incredibly passionate about what we do, because what we do works. It changes lives. And you only have to go on the website that you're on now, go to the reviews tab or the testimonials tab, and look at the real people who've left messages that say, I was anxious, I was a panic disorder sufferer, I was phobic, and now I'm not, and it's because of this. Just look for it and try and find something similar elsewhere. You won't find it. We love what we do, and we'd love to help you. Take care.